Hi, everyone, and welcome to S5U. It's Kate Drake, your host. We're going to be talking about building your profile and optimizing it on LinkedIn today. And I think this is a really valuable thing to talk about because we forget about LinkedIn sometimes and forget how important it is in the grand scheme of social media. So really important things that we're going to talk about here. So hopefully you can take this home and use it on your LinkedIn profile, and it'll really help you out. I just want to do a quick sound and video check and make sure that everybody can see and hear me okay. If you can, I don't really care if you can see me okay, but if you can see the presentation and you can hear my voice all right, would you go ahead and raise your hand or put a little note in the chat box or something like that? Okay, awesome. Great. Wonderful. Well, let's get started. So here's just a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about why you need a complete profile on LinkedIn. This is really important. We're going to talk about the profile components that you really need to be focused on. 4 key components that are important in every profile. So I really liked this quote from Tom Peters. He says, "To be in business today, our most important job is to be the head marketer for the brand called you." And that's really true, you know, and I really think that's part of what LinkedIn is you know, it's the business network. You know, we talk about Facebook and Twitter and everything, and we do a lot of really great marketing things there, but you're really connecting with other consumers on Facebook. You know, you're going to be talking, it's a different audience. So on LinkedIn, you're going to be talking to other professionals and other people who can help you build your business, whether it's someone who's a potential client or just someone who you could partner with to share leads and help each other out in growing your business that way. So really important to be on there, to be marketing yourself and to come across in a professional manner. So why do you need a LinkedIn profile? Why is it important? And really what it comes down to is these little search spiders. And you've probably seen me talk about these little guys before. Your LinkedIn profile is searchable by these search engine spiders like your web page would be. This is a little Google spider that we've got here, but obviously there are others. The thing is, LinkedIn results are likely to be in the first page of Google results. So if someone Googles your name, your LinkedIn profile is going to be one of the first things that shows up. Usually it's within the top 3 results. So obviously it's going to be very high on the page and going to be very, it's going to be one of the first things people look at. You may have tons and tons of different articles written about you or things that you've done or things like that. I know when I Google, if I Google myself, you know, if I Google like Katie Drake, Salt Lake City, yeah, a whole bunch of articles come up that I wrote when I was a reporter at a newspaper. Other blogs come up that I've written since I've started working here at Social 5, things like that. But my LinkedIn profile is always on that top page. And so it really is important and is something that you need to fill out because it's going to be one of the first things people see about you. So let's take a look at your LinkedIn profile. I've used, my boss Jeremiah's here because he's done a really nice job of filling his out. And as you can see, it's kind of got several different features. So up here at the top right, you can see what's happening with your account in the notifications section. You've got messages, notifications, and any connection requests that might come through. Then over here, you can see in the newsfeed, you can see what people are posting. Content from your connections is going to appear here in a live news feed. Now, people don't post as often on LinkedIn as they do on Facebook or Twitter or something. So, you know, you can scroll through that and take a look at what people have posted. And maybe, you know, it's something that they posted every few days, every week, or something along those lines. People are a little slower on LinkedIn. It doesn't move quite at the same speed as some of those other social channels. So let's talk about, as we get started here, you can access your profile under the Profile tab. And here's, you know, and that's what it looks like. Some of the sections include, and again, all of these social media profiles, with the exception of Twitter, can get pretty extensive. And this one is no exception to that. You've got the headline, your photo, your status update, a vanity URL if you've got one, applications, experience, education, recommendations, tons of information that you can fill out here, right? And so it can be a little daunting, but we're going to talk about some of the most important things here in a minute. But what you really want to do is you want to think of LinkedIn as your online resume. You really want to make your profile as thorough as you can, and you want to use keywords that will help potential partners find you. So like Jeremiah's done a really good job of that. He's got right on there, marketing and advertising. He's got his skills and endorsements on there for things like editing, reporting, but he's also got social media skills in there too, right? And he's got his education and things like that. So really important to make sure you're listing all of the experience that you've got, all the education you may have, and any past jobs that you may have. Past jobs is really important because other people from those jobs are going to try and reach out and connect with you. So you really want to make sure that, your colleagues at a former company that you've worked at, even if it was 10 or 20 years ago or something, they might be reaching out, trying to network with you, and you don't want to miss out on those opportunities. So make sure you do that. And again, part of what we're talking about here is optimizing that profile and making it searchable. So you really want to include those keywords and make sure that it's got that important information about you and those keywords that you want associated with your name or your company's name, obviously. All right, so one of the key components here is your headline. And I think this is something that gets really overlooked sometimes. So there's some deadly sins here that we want to make sure we avoid. You don't want to have this be cute and clever. I don't want to describe myself as a social media superstar on LinkedIn. I want to say I'm the director of education at Social 5 University and talk about what Social 5 University does, right? So you really want to make sure that you're using professional language, that it's not cutesy and clever. You also don't want it to be too ambiguous or confusing. You don't want to just say like that you're a business development specialist or something, right? You want to be, that might be what you do, but you want to be a little more specific about that. Some companies have kind of a hard time with that, where they do have these kind of ambiguous sounding job titles. And if that's the case, don't be afraid to, emphasize and tell a little bit more about what it is that you do. But at the same time, you don't want it to be so boring that it puts people to sleep, right? You want it to be compelling and interesting. And you also don't want it to sound too desperate. This is especially true if you're looking for either looking for work on your personal profile or looking to make connections on your business profile. You don't want to sound like, please, please, please hire me, or please, please, please look at our profile and do business with our company, right? You want to sound professional and competent and like you know what you're doing. I found these suggested headlines from an executive recruiter named Pete Leidman, who writes for the LinkedIn blog, and I thought these were really great. So this top one is what he has listed as his LinkedIn headline. He says he's an executive recruiter, speaker, author who helps you create a better career. Featured on Fox, CBS, CNN. So, he's got some information there. He's got all the different hats he wears at his job and got some keywords in there like better career. He's got the networks he's appeared on to give himself some credibility and things like that. Here's some others that I thought were really good. Fundraising consultant who helps major nonprofits raise more money. Clients include Red Cross and YMCA. So this one, again, is showing it's got, fundraising consultant. It tells the job that the person is doing. It has good keywords like nonprofits, money, raise more money. And then they've listed some clients there that give them some gravitas and make them clear that they have the experience to back up their name. The Red Cross and the YMCA and stuff like that. Those are really well-known brands throughout the country. And so, and people who are looking to raise money as a nonprofit are going to know those names. So same thing, try and think of some things that you can use as in your industry that will give you some credibility that way. Here's another really good one. Personal trainer who helps high school athletes get stronger and faster. Certified by the American Council on Exercise. Awesome. They've told their job title that they're a personal trainer. They've included some keywords like high school athletes. They want to make sure that they're getting the right kind of folks to come to their page, right? They don't want professional athletes coming. I'm sure they want them, but that's not what they specialize in, right? And they've got some of their specialized certifications in there. So if you have some sort of certification or something along those lines, depending on what type of job you were looking for, you'd really want to make sure you include that. Whether it's a degree that you may need. I know my husband is working right now. He's a civil engineer and he's working on getting his project management professional certification. So when he gets that, that's going to go into his LinkedIn headline because that's a certification that people are really looking for. So keep that in mind as you're going along. And same with, either with your business or with your personal page. You want to include those types of features in both. Now, another really important thing is your headshot. And this is one that we see a lot. Please don't be this guy, right? Where you have this photo from, a million years ago that looks nothing like you. What I want you to think about is these are the components that you need for your headshot. You want to make sure it's professional. You don't want, a picture of like you out drinking margaritas on the weekend or something, right? You want it to be a professional portrait of yourself. You want it to be focused on your smiling face, and smiling is important. You don't want to be, it doesn't have to be like a super smiley picture, but you want to look pleasant and that you're someone that people want to do business with, right? You want to make sure it's high resolution. I see a lot of these in profile pictures where people have uploaded a photo of themselves that is, kind of grainy and stuff. And so you want to make sure it's really high res so that it's looking nice. You also want to make sure it only features one person. I can't tell you how many times I see this on all types of social media. It's slightly more acceptable on Facebook versus something like LinkedIn. But, here's a picture of you and your best friend in your Facebook profile picture. How are people supposed to know which one is you? Well, that becomes even more important on LinkedIn, right? Because on Facebook, the people who you see probably know which one is you already because they're your personal friend, right? But on LinkedIn, it's going to be, someone that you may not have known or met in person is going to be looking at your profile. And you want to make sure that the photo that they're going to see just has you in it. I also see sometimes people put up family photos and things like that. And those are lovely, but really it's the place for a professional business photo. So it should only feature you. Now, obviously, if it's a business for your business LinkedIn page, this is going to be a little bit different. And you're going to want to do your graphic or a picture of your team or something like that, all meeting these guidelines. So it is a little different that way. This is a fun one that I think people don't think about, but you want it to be appropriate for all seasons. You want to, be wearing business attire that doesn't look out of place in the winter versus the summer or things like that. If your LinkedIn profile is of you in a strappy sundress, it's going to look out of place in the winter. And it's one of those things that we do on a subconscious level where, we don't realize we're making that judgment as we see someone who's wearing summer clothes during the winter time. But we do, and we go like, oh, well, they must, subconsciously we're saying like, oh, well, they must not be that smart because they're wearing a sundress and it's freezing outside. So just think about that. Business attire is always going to be good, something that's appropriate all year. Make sure it's something recent. I also see a lot of LinkedIn profiles, photos that were obviously taken a while ago. And I know, I certainly looked better 2 kids ago. And I wish that they have that saying of like, I wish I was as fat as I was the first time I thought I was fat or whatever, I know that there's a lot of us out there who feel that way too. So, but make sure it's something recent. You don't want to have a profile photo of yourself from 20 years ago because you don't look the same, right? And again, the most important thing is you just want it to look like you. You want it to look like the best you it can possibly be. You want it to be a flattering photo, but you don't want it to be some glamour shot where when you walk into to actually meet with someone, they're not going to recognize you, right? You want to make it so it looks like you as a person and what you look like in your daily life. Remember, you're trying to create connections here. It's not a dating site, right? So I see a lot of, I was just talking to my sister-in-law about this the other day. She's been working on trying to get a new job, and her LinkedIn profile picture is like a selfie of her like, and I was like, that's can go on your Tinder profile, but LinkedIn is not the place for it, okay? So remember that. So another really key component here, and again, these are like at the bare minimum, make sure you have these things filled out, is your experience. So your profile is automatically going to display your last 3 positions with up to 3 more displayed if the person chooses view all. So now some of you obviously are going to have more than that. If you've had a 50-year career in business, you've got tons of jobs probably. Others of us, might not have quite that many. I noticed this was a trending topic on Twitter the other day, which was first 7 jobs. And I went and was trying to do it myself, and I realized I have only had 7 jobs. So, you know, some of us are like that. I don't have a ton of experience to put on here to make up my view all. But, you know, include as many positions as you can. And again, you get up to 6. So you want that to be the 6 most recent so that you can account for your most recent years. You can see here on Jeremiah's, he's got his current one at Social 5, and then he's got the places that he's worked in the past. So you want to add a brief description of each position that you've had. You know, talk about what you did there, the skills you learned, and things like that. And one thing you want to make sure you do is you don't want to shy away from experience that's outside your industry. Find a way to make it relevant to what you're doing. So like I was saying the other day, my sister-in-law has been looking for a new job, and she's been in retail management for a long time. And she wants to move over to a different type of management. Like she was saying, she wants to be like an office manager or something. And so that was something we talked about, is how do we write up your LinkedIn profile so that it plays up that management experience and shows how it is relevant to the new type of job that you may be getting, right? There's a lot of jobs like this that have crossover in different ways. You know, if you've been doing something else, you know, tie it into what you're doing now and make it and show how that experience helped you. So really, you know, don't be afraid to list a job that was totally outside your industry, but explain why it's important and how it shaped you into the person you are today. You can also create a second headline under your experience tab that can talk a little bit more in depth about your experience and everything. And then you're going to want to collect recommendations and endorsements from people. You can ask for those, and you know, once you start making a lot of connections, you'll just have those endorsements and things like that show up. A great way to get endorsements is to go out and endorse people for other things. I know I'm kind of bad about that. I don't go out and endorse people as often as I should. But every time I log into LinkedIn, I have endorsements waiting for me from people I've worked with in the past who are endorsing me for news writing skills or copywriting or whatever it may be that we've done together before. And then I can go in and endorse them. It's a good trigger for me to go, oh, you know what? I should go help them out and write that on their profile. So really, you know, don't be afraid to go out and endorse people and hope for them to endorse you back. I would say that's probably the best way to collect those recommendations and endorsements. And the last key component here is your contact info. And again, all of these things are very important, whether they're your company or your personal profile. But I can't tell you how many times we see a LinkedIn profile that doesn't include any contact information. If that's the case, the only way to contact you is through LinkedIn. And while that's great, a lot of people are going to want to make contact with you. You know, if they're calling your business or something, they just want to pick up the phone and call you, or have an email address that they can send an email to, right? So make sure you include your website on there so that they can find your company's website, especially if it's a company page and not a personal page. And again, preferably your company website, even if it's on a personal profile. You want to include the company that you're working for right now. You want to include phone, email, and your business address. You don't need to include your home address unless it's your personal profile and you're looking for work or something like that, then you could include that. But really, I mean, it sounds so silly to say that you need to make sure you include those, but we do see a lot of profiles that don't have them. Put in links to your other social channels. Let them find you on Facebook. Let them find you on Twitter, you know, wherever else you may be. Now, again, that means that, you know, if you're looking for a job or looking to make professional connections, you want to be a little more careful about what you're posting on your Facebook page as well, right? But you can link to your business Facebook page versus your personal Facebook page or whatever the case may be there. You can also add links to your blog or publications that you've done. This is really great, and again, gives you kind of some gravitas in the industry if they can see that you've written a blog post or that you've published something or whatever. All right, with that in mind, I'll go ahead and open it up for questions if anybody has any. Feel free to send those in through the chat or in the Q&A section. Awesome, I'm seeing some pop up already. Great question here. So can you create multiple LinkedIn pages as you can for Facebook? And the answer is yes. You know, it's not limited. You can only have one associated with your email address. So you would need a separate email address for different things. I wouldn't necessarily recommend creating more than one LinkedIn profile page. I would try and, for a personal page, I would try and tie it all into one, but you can do more than one. I guess if you had two really different things that you're doing, you know, two different business interests, you could create one for each one. Now, the other thing is you can create both a personal profile on LinkedIn and a business profile on LinkedIn. And that's definitely something I'd recommend that you do. We do most of our marketing through personal LinkedIn pages just because it's about the connections, right? It's about who you know and how you can get in touch with them. But having a business page on LinkedIn, again, is going to be one of those top things that shows up in the Google results when your company is Googled, and it shows, you know, some of the connections that you've made and shows, you know, just your company information, that you have a page, that you're out there, that you're being professional. Really, really important stuff that way. All right, any other questions? Oops, sorry. All right. Well, with that in mind, I'll go ahead and sign off. We'll see you guys again in a couple of weeks for another session. In the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can always contact us at content@social5.com. So we'll see you guys in a little while, and thanks so much for joining us.